Georgia Virtue presents the Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong podcast.
Thank you for downloading episode 294. This week, we have a guest filling in for Ken. The 2023 election results. Manchin on the outs, maybe. The censure heard round the Capitol. Killing fun. The law starts to catch up with civil asset forfeiture. The hooker corner and pistol braces. I'm Dave Roberts. Filling in for my partner in crime, Ken Pullen, who had a very important assignment. He's swinging the clubs. So he traveled all week and then had a golf tournament to go to. So we have a really good friend of mine, a man about town here in Paulding County, pretty well known with the Rotary Club. He's a business broker. I can't say much for his intelligence or looks, but we've got Doug Shaw. Dougie, thank you for coming on.
Gee, thanks, Dave.
What an introduction, huh?
It hurts.
Oh, yeah.
I'm used to it by now. I feel a little awkward filling in for Ken because, don't tell Matt Lowe, but Ken's the best co-host that's ever been on this show.
Don't tell Matt. Well, Matt knows it. Jessica actually listens.
But I'm excited to be here, man. That's you've been on my podcast before, and this is a good opportunity to get on here. I listen to you guys every Monday morning when I'm out for a 3-mile walk, and always look forward to you guys being on.
Yeah, so it's like having two creepy guys following you talking, right?
Yeah, and I'm usually yelling at you when you make errors and stuff, and texting you along the way.
Yeah, the neighbor's like, "Here comes a special needs guy." He keeps talking to himself as he walks. He's walking through the neighborhood going, "Damn it, no, stupid, Dave, stupid."
Yeah, that's it.
Now, you do business brokering, and now you do other things around the community. You also are helping to represent, is it 3 Strands?
Yeah, I'm doing the distribution and sales for 3 Strands Vineyards. Just a little consulting work. Jason and Eric are friends of my wife and I's, and great little place, and just helping him get his new distribution avenues set up, and he'll be selling his own wines out into the liquor stores and restaurants and that around here. And I do broker businesses. I also do commercial real estate, and I really do more commercial real estate than anything else, but it goes hand in hand with the business brokering, and it's a fun job and a frustrating job.
Well, I'm sure the frustrating thing is managing expectations. We have a barbecue restaurant that eventually went belly up. They just couldn't keep up with the. They were running a very old model. They've been around a long time.
Yep.
They were running an old model. They ran a good business for a long time.
They did.
But the owner now wants some unbelievable amount of money for this property that honestly is probably going to be knocked down and turned into a car wash like everything else in Paulding County or Dollar General.
Yeah, it was worth, I think I told him it was worth about $1.2 million sitting empty. I think they're asking $2.6 for it. And every day that a restaurant sits empty, it goes down in value. I mean, you can't get the smells and that. Oh, it's horrible. But, I wish them the best of luck. It's a great location, but it's going to sit for a long time. And it's hard to manage those expectations. It really is. You got to be as upfront and honest as possible, because otherwise you're going to waste everybody's time, including your own.
Yeah, if you think that you're going to get double what something's worth, I mean, you almost feel like Rick Harrison at a certain point with Pawn Stars, where you just, how much do you want? I want $10,000. Well, I'm at $500. We're just not going to make a deal. You have a good day. Let's part as friends.
Yeah, you can't call your friend who's in the empty restaurant selling business to tell him. So, it is what it is, man. You can't make everybody happy, and some people have to learn the hard way. And I've got a friend that's a real estate broker also, and he told me that sometimes it's best to be the second agent.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Yeah, the person who's selling them rainbows and unicorn farts and everything else is gonna eventually tick him off. And he said this would be no problem at 2.5. Then he's going to come back and call you and say, well, now realistically, Doug, what do you think it's worth now?
0.8.
Yeah, well, and we watched.
And that's what happens.
We watched a friend's business go down the toilet because it was 2 partners that were 50-50, which is always a bad idea. Someone always has to be in charge. But 50, they couldn't agree on a price. One person thought it was worth more, and once they closed the doors, they lost all value.
Yep.
And they lost 6 figures on that.
Yeah, it's
not to mention what they put in it.
When you come to me for professional advice, please understand I'm going to give you professional advice.
Even look, he may not look professional. Actually, he looks pretty professional today.
I look good.
I mean, I won't say good. I mean, he actually has a button down on today. I mean,
I got a nice dinner coming tonight. We're going to go eat at the Cherokee Chop House.
Oh, nice.
So I'm looking forward to
date night.
Date night. Yeah, I've been out of town all week, so I think she wanted to go have a nice dinner.
Well, if she wanted a nice dinner, she certainly didn't want you to cook it.
Oh, that hurts.
Actually, Doug is a pit master.
I can cook. I can cook a lot of things. I probably cook more than my wife does.
She doesn't have time.
No, she doesn't. She's a labor and delivery nurse, and she's
so when it's time. So when it's time to clock out, it's not exactly like you just like swipe it down the expected amount of this crack and like, okay, I'm out. Next one in.
It is really hard to believe that this podcast has lasted 294 episodes with you.
A little more, yeah. Oh, probably close to over 200 with me. I met Jessica last weekend.
I saw that. That's the first time you've ever met her in person. You met Eric too.
I did. 200 plus episodes. We spent 2 hours every week together. An hour recording, and we'd spend an hour going through stories and all that stuff. And it felt like we knew each other. I mean, obviously we did, but it was the first time we'd met in person. Even Connie felt like she knew her. But we went down to visit little MEG, Emerson Grace, darling baby.
Saw the pictures.
That baby's long fingers, long toes. And what's funny is I'm calling her MEG, and nobody else is allowed to call her that. I mean, it's tolerated from me, but she doesn't quite have finger control yet. So I'm calling her MEG, and she looks like she's throwing gang signs with these long fingers.
Statesboro gang signs.
Statesboro's actually pretty nice. I mean, it's improved a lot.
There's a lot there with the college. I mean, that's a pretty good sized college, and it's like an island. It's the island in between, Macon and
the People's Republic of Savannah.
Yeah. Well, I guess kind of Dublin's the island, but yeah.
Yeah. I was kind of thinking about all the protests that have been going on with Palestinians and stuff like that. And like, we're going to College Town, we carry an extra magazine and all that stuff. So we get there at 10 o'clock at night and hit a Tex-Mex place. And I look around, and all the dudes are in blue jeans and boots and stuff like that. I'm like, we'll be fine.
Yeah, it is still South Georgia.
Yeah, we'll be fine. You're not going to see a whole lot of pro-Palestinians throwing rocks at Georgia Southern.
I don't understand all this. I don't get it. I don't get it. I can understand a handful of people, but the amount of people that are protesting and then just the pure idiocy that's coming out of their mouths, I just don't get it. I have no sympathy at all for the quote-unquote Palestinians. I just don't.
I do for the civilians.
A little bit, but at the same time, you've let these people live and thrive among you and cheered them on for years. What did you think was going to happen?
What's the saying? That elections have consequences. And they elected Hamas.
They did.
As the Israelis left in 2005, I think, under Bush 43. And they've been allowed self-rule. And what do you get with it? Terrorists.
Yes.
So, but most of these kids don't. Most of the college kids protesting have no idea what they're talking about.
No, they don't.
They have no historical perspective. Just the geopolitical historical perspective. No, Israel did not steal Palestine. It was a British colony.
There was no Palestine. There never has been Palestine. It's been a hodgepodge of tribes and little villages and stuff, and it's never been. There's
no such thing as Afghanistan either.
No.
We call it Afghanistan. Afghans, until they get here, really don't consider themselves Afghans. I'm of this tribe, I'm of that tribe. They're more closely related to those across the border in Pakistan, because they'll have family tribes and they war with each other, intermarry. It's very, very feudal in the way that if you could think about feudal lords only being a couple miles apart, having their own kingdoms and the inner politics. Is Game of Thrones, but much more brutal. and more incest.
Goat sex, whatever.
Yeah, at least Game of Thrones is only dragons, right?
That was Shrek.
So, I guess you were tracking the 2023 election results last week.
A little bit, yeah.
Outside of, I think it was Long Island, where I think they got a straight sweep on their council members. The Republicans got shellacked.
They did. Even some of the issues that came up, not even just the straight elections, where we watched, you and I were discussing it earlier, we watched states that have been pretty solidly red states were really kind of voting in the more blue and purple issues. And I don't know if it was because it was kind of an off year, it's between the big elections, or if it's the abortion issue is driving out more liberals to the elections. But man, I didn't see this coming.
Well, Ohio especially, which is your home.
Yeah, I've been here 30 years in Georgia, but yeah, Ohio's where I'm from, and still have a lot of family and friends up there, and they very soundly voted in. They voted in abortion up until fetal viability, and they also voted in recreational marijuana, which, for the most part, I could care less. I think most people that know me know I'm a Republican, and I very much lean to libertarian tendencies. And whatever, if you want to get high, as long as you're not driving or bothering me, I don't care.
Yeah. Now look, I do not want to sit next to you at a bar if you're doing coke, so I have to listen to, hey man, hey, I got the screenplay, man. It's brilliant. Let me tell you about it. You know what? Tomorrow we're gonna buy a boat.
No, you aren't. You just snorted it.
Exactly. I like to say that about Stevie Nicks. I'd love to have just a portion of what she put up her nose. But, it's interesting to me. Now, Ohio's never been hardcore Republican. I mean, you had John Kasich, which was...
Why does everybody always have to bring that guy up?
He's Ohio's version of Mitt Romney.
He was horrible. And I still know people that would vote for him. And the guy was horrible. He was a horrible governor.
Yeah, I mean, look. I mean, there are people today that would vote for our previous Speaker of the House in Georgia, David. I can't even think who his name is now.
Oh, from out here in Paulding County. Yeah.
Yeah. But there are people who would dig up dead people and vote for him. Well, on the Democrat side, that's mostly dead people voting. But I don't know. I think there was a bigger fire in the belly for those who want to protect abortion than it was for people who didn't. When I say fire in the belly, I mean a lot of people on the conservative side think they already won with the Supreme Court. It's done. We won. It's over, and really didn't pay attention to it. Plus, most reasonable people. You're gonna have the extremists. You're gonna have the Westboro Baptist Church people and the extremists and all that. But most people that are in the middle, that's not gonna get them. That's not gonna get them to the polls.
No, and I think it's never going to get me to the polls one way or the other. I don't love it, but at the same time, I also understand it's a very personal and very divisive issue that we're never, ever, ever going to win by throwing it out there. And so I think Roe versus Wade was garbage legislation, or garbage decision, not legislation, a garbage decision based on some pretty flawed theories. But I also think that as the states start to hash it out amongst themselves and make their own decisions, that you're going to have some pretty drastic things in each direction.
But that's what we as conservatives said we wanted.
No, and we got it. You got to be careful sometimes what you want.
Yeah, we want it to be a 10th Amendment issue. Kick it back to the states. If New York wants to allow abortion until a minute before contractions start, it's evil, but it's on them.
Well, my hope is that in Georgia we don't have to even deal with this issue again.
That would be my preference. And there's a lot of flack on the heartbeat bill, and I've said before, the biggest thing I like about it is it's a definitive line that any MD can make: heartbeat, no heartbeat. Well, just like it's how we decide if someone's dead.
Well, now that it's out of the way in Ohio, short of it being on a national level, it's on a state level now. Now that it's out of the way in Ohio, does that keep some of the liberal voters home next go round?
I think it clears the road, because look, we're pretty much agree, all of us across the board, Trump is going to be the nominee.
It's so painful.
Even if it's from a jail cell, he's going to be the nominee, unless he says something stupid.
He said something stupid every day for the last 2 decades.
Yeah, well, unless he says something stupid about abortion, like banning it nationally or something like that, it'll keep the Karens home.
Yeah,
I think so anyway. Speaking of going home, Joe Manchin has decided not to seek re-election.
I'm not totally surprised by this. I've kind of anticipated it was coming. I think this could be bad for the Democrats. It could be good for the Republicans. And I don't think there's any question that the next senator from the state of West Virginia will be a Republican.
Oh, it's heavily red. Let me give you a quote. After months of deliberation and long conversations with my family, I believe in my heart of hearts that I have accomplished what I set out to do for West Virginia. I've made one of the toughest decisions of my life, really, and decided that I will not be running for re-election for the United States Senate. Now, that's the toughest decision you've ever made, to retire from a job that will pay you for the rest of your life.
I don't think this guy cares about that money. Have you seen his boat? I call it a boat. His yacht. This guy's got all the money he ever needs. I know it's power. It is. And
it's also he got to get his ego massaged every time there's a piece of legislation that came down that was middle of the road. He'd have both sides stroking his ego.
Well, my thing is what he said now is that both parties have come under the domination of the extremes, and he wants to find a better way. And if you haven't read it, I encourage anybody listening to read it. He did an editorial, an opinion piece in the Wall Street Journal that explained why he wasn't running again. And now I question, what's the next step? Does he go meet up with Robert Kennedy and become a running mate? Does he try to run a third party? Does he become a VP candidate? I mean, is this somebody that Trump could get to run as a VP candidate?
I thought about that. I think what the going theory is right now is that he's going to run on the no labels.
Or does he not run at all? Does he just go do what he says he's going to do and go out and work on issues that he feels that both sides more, and I do think that the majority of the people in this country are much more center left, center right, but there fewer people are extreme on either side. I think the majority is more toward the middle. But does he really go out and work on issues that are more toward the middle, or does he go out and try to run as a VP candidate or run as an independent candidate or a third party candidate?
Well, what I appreciated about Manchin was he was a rock when it came to the Second Amendment.
Oh, without question, and he had to be. I mean, West Virginia, for God's sake.
Right. I mean, but he was a rock. There was nothing getting by him, and that's why even during the election, the 2020 election, and everything else, was gun legislation, and like they're not getting it past Sinema and Manchin. You've got to have 60 votes to get it through the Senate, and you just lost 2 of the Democrats. They're down to 48.
Well, I definitely think the Republicans pick up the seat here. I think that the 99% is they get this seat. They would have to do something pretty stupid. And look, we all know that they are very capable of that.
That they are. No, they are. They probably been shooting themselves in the foot for a decade. They just can't. Now, look, Trump losing the 2018 election doesn't shock me. That happens to every president. They lose the midterm. It happened to Clinton. It happened to Bush. Happened to Obama.
Very, very, very slightly happened to Biden.
Very slightly happened to Biden. That red wave was kind of a fizzle. But it was. We also have to deal with managing expectations. There weren't that many seats up for grabs in 22. There just weren't.
No.
It's, you're talking about people that are in solid districts. So there, especially the Senate, there just weren't that many seats up for grabs that were in play. So good for Joe Manchin. God bless him. He's an old school Southern Democrat. Don't mess with my guns. Yes, we want to help the poor. Don't mess with my coal miners.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the coal miners are turning into the poor. So
yeah, exactly right. So Rashida Tlaib, she finally got her wrist slapped.
I wish they'd have slapped something else.
First of all, we talked about this, I think it was last week, with Marjorie Taylor Greene putting forth the censure on Tlaib. And what Ken and I both pointed out was the fact that she called it the October 6th, or whatever her protest was, an insurrection, like January 6th. Well, you can't say January 6th was not an insurrection and say this was.
No, you can't. But you know how I feel about January 6th. One, even the FBI said this was not an insurrection. Two, with 400 million guns in this country, you'll know when it's an insurrection.
Oh, yeah. Trust me. Carrying a podium through the vestibule is not exactly an insurrection.
Yeah, this woman, I do not understand, one, how she got elected. I don't understand how she stays elected, but then go back to what we just talked about. There's enough people in this country who don't like this country, which just blows my mind. You hate this country, leave, that will keep electing these people that obviously, I just can't. I just don't understand it. How does she stay there? Will she stay there longer? I don't know. But what does the censure actually do?
Nothing.
Exactly.
It doesn't strip her of any of her voting rights. It doesn't send her packing. Now, could it cost her money within her caucus? Possible. She could lose some of that DNC money on her reelection. She hasn't introduced a single piece of legislation that I can think of that passed. But no one will sign on to her legislation because nobody wants to be associated with it.
No.
She has cooties. Nobody wants to touch her.
Well, I mean, AOC or somebody like that.
Yeah, AOC or Ilhan Omar or whatever, her and her husband, brother or whatever. But yeah, and Cori Bush was giving an emotional thing about.
She Missouri. Where's she from?
Yeah, something like that.
She's a nut.
She's a miserable piece of work. She really is. I mean, I've got better things to describe Cori Bush and Rashida Tlaib. But look, if she wants to say that bombing civilians is wrong, the Israelis are the first ones to say, you're right. It's not Islamophobic. The fact is, if you're Muslim born in Israel, you're Israeli. You're just a Muslim Israeli. They serve in the IDF just like everybody else. It's not Muslim versus Jew. This not from their standpoint. It is Hamas versus Israel, and it's two entities, and and Israel does its best to get civilians out of the way.
Now they've got the little thumpers in that when they're getting ready to drop a bomb 10 minutes beforehand. It gives a concussion, and basically that's your
that's your cue.
Your cue. Get the hell out. But
you don't have to tell me twice.
You know what? I will say this about the censure is that 22 Democrats voted for it.
And four Republicans voted against it, including Thomas Massey. Massey, who said on the last resolution, the reason he opposed it was that wording, still voted against it.
I give up.
It's like we mention Massey every week. Massey, MTG, and of course you can't get a week without at least mentioning Trump, right?
No, but I will say this, and again, you know me, I refuse to vote for Marjorie. She's our congresswoman, unfortunately, but it's not with my vote. She isn't, but she has really toned it down this go around, and I hope it stays that way.
Well, yeah, until she's on the floor calling Boebert a little b, or yelling at Massey, and she's going to isolate herself to where when she has good ideas, and she has a couple good ideas out there, they're going to be dead on arrival because people don't want to deal with her.
Well, there are rumblings that she's going to run for Senate.
Good luck.
Yeah, I don't think she can pull this. Ooh, Eric's going to kill me.
Yeah.
Now, anybody who's listened to my podcast knows that we don't censor. So, but she can't pull the stuff she's been pulling.
Well, they've
on
been,
a state level.
They've been saying the S word on like Fox News.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not exactly it's not like dropping an F-bomb on the show, which I've done on your show.
No, I think you've done it on this one, but Eric's really good at cutting it out.
So speaking of Trump, we have Trump derangement syndrome is alive and well with DAs, attorneys general, and one judge.
Oh, that judge is an idiot.
Slamming his hands on the desk, telling Trump's attorney to get a hold of his or her client. Now, first of all, the attorney that goes out and gives the briefing after every day, smoking hot. I mean,
that's to keep your attention.
Yeah. Oh, she's got it. She's got it. Now, of course, Trump has a smoking hot lawyer. Of course, he does. It's like Gaddafi and his bodyguards.
Oh yeah,
we're all like 8, 9s, and 10s. His personal bodyguards. Reminds me of Coming to America with the personal bathers.
The bathers. We won't go into that.
But yeah, Arthur Engron is the judge. Just lost it during Trump's testimony. Now keep in mind, there is no jury, so grandstanding doesn't help. Why not just let him finish his damn thought?
Well, and this doesn't give the appearance of a fair and partial.
Of course not.
You know, it's this guy, and then Letitia James. She's dressed to the nines and, as you put it, acting like a rock star.
Oh yeah, she's front row. So she goes from being adorning fan, like all she's missing is a Zippo out yelling "Freebird." She's in front row smiling. She's eating it up, and then the minute the gavel hits, security's pushing people out of the way so she can get first to the cameras and tell everybody. This is what happened, and she ran solely on going after Trump. She's the attorney damn general. Now, I will say to her credit, our attorney general doesn't do a damn thing.
No, but sometimes that's not always a bad thing.
No, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but he couldn't identify a courthouse. If like one of those CAPTCHA things to figure out if you're a robot, identify the courthouse, be like, next, please.
Reset.
Which ones are bicycles? Okay, I can do that one.
Bicycles.
But yeah, you've got these folks up in New York. The lawsuit is absurd because they asked for essentially a summary judgment, just to go ahead and throw everything out with prejudice. There's no victim. There's nobody claiming they were defrauded. None. There's no bank standing up saying, "Hey, we're the victim." There's no victim. So she's suing on behalf of New York taxpayers who didn't lose a dime on it. So I don't even understand how she has standing, or how the state has standing to even sue him, because he didn't. If he broke a law, you go after him criminally.
So if they find him guilty, what could be the punishment?
A fine of a couple $1 billion or something.
Which they'll appeal and appeal and appeal.
Right. Well, the going theory is this is we won't say coordinated, but loosely associated push from the Democrats to deplete him of any ready cash, to give him a war on so many fronts he can't possibly afford to fight it and run for president. And then you've got the Egoron, or whatever his damn name is, putting a gag order on him for a civil case that has no jury. So is the judge saying he's so weak-minded that if Trump goes on the news and does an interview, that he'll be swayed? He's. I can't believe Trump didn't go for a jury trial. That's unbelievable to me that he would go for a bench trial on this thing. Other than maybe they were looking for that summary judgment, or they were looking for a reason to appeal. But this guy's out of his damn mind. Meanwhile, in Georgia, lawyers are leaving Fani Willis's office in droves.
Well, they're tired of all Trump all the time.
It's not that. She is bipolar at the least. She comes in with different targets every day, yelling at people, praise you 1 second, as much as Trump does this stuff. Yell at you 1 second, praise you the next second, tell you what a good job you're doing, then you're not doing enough. She has a huge backlog of cases. We have people dying in the jail in Fulton County because they can't get a court date for months on a charge that even if they were convicted, they only spend a couple days.
Hey, but don't worry. She's going to get that big bad orange, man.
That's all she's 100% consumed with it. To the point where, honestly, a lot of the attorneys don't feel safe because they don't have security. The investigator.
Fulton County's always been a launching pad for attorneys to go on to much bigger and better things. There's been some very famous attorneys that have come out of Fulton County that were assistants, and
Roy Barnes.
Well, a lot. I mean, Manny Aurora, who's a pretty famous. He deals with sports stars and things like that. I think he was Pac-Man Jones' attorney. I think Nancy Grace came out of Fulton County. So it's always been kind of a big department, and that's led to bigger and better things for people who want to go there and cut their teeth. I mean, I think one of our very own judges out here in Paulding County came out. In fact, he knew Fani pretty well, and he's a judge here in Paulding County and has been for quite some time.
Well, yeah, and look, a lot of people come out of Fulton County, but Fani Willis she demands to be called Madam. Like Dick Donovan was himself. So you'll hear someone come down the hall, Madam needs this, Madam needs that. Madam has told me that she needs you to work on this.
Yeah, you can demand for me to call you whatever you want.
Well, she sort of is a madam because she's trying to get everybody to screw somebody.
This is true.
I mean, all I can think is Della Reese from the Eddie Murphy movie.
Harlem Nights.
Harlem Nights.
The one that got going to shoot your pinky toe.
Yeah. Oh, we're throwing trash cans now. But at least that madam had values.
You know, the crazy thing is she might have actually had a case here that could have went somewhere if they'd have been more expeditious about it.
If she'd been concise.
Yep.
Instead of throwing this wide net where you've got lawyers that are pleading out, which, okay, they have to testify. Well, they can't.
Well, and the abuse of RICO too, and that's going to go. I think that's going to catch up in Georgia real quick.
I think so.
I think it's RICO, coming to an end.
Yeah, the RICO statute is out of control. But yeah, so that's man, I don't even know. The Trump derangement syndrome is. Look, I'm not a super Trumper, but I don't have this fiery passion one way or another for him. I'm not going to go on a hill and die for him. I also am not going to elect Sleepy Joe just to keep him out of office. I mean, no. His policies were fine. They helped my bank account. They were great. If he could marry those with, I don't know, shutting his mouth every once in a while.
You remember when we were being told that he was going to get us into World War III and ruin our economy?
As we sit on the cusp of World War III and a recession, right. So the kill switch is alive and well. All right, speaking of Thomas Massey, there was an amendment to defund what's being called the kill switch. And what this is a mandate for the DOT and I think the EPA by the end of 2026 to have regulations for car manufacturers to have kill switches. To monitor driving, there's actually a proposal to monitor the air within the vehicle to see if there's alcohol. That's Now, what if you're the DD? Like you're driving 4 drunk friends home, and all of a sudden the car shuts down on you.
Anybody who's bought a vehicle in the last 2 or 3 years, every car is connected from the base models up. And they're already watching your eyes and your movements and whether your head sags. I've got a base model F-150. It tells me that it's probably time for me to pull over and rest, that I'm getting tired. If I've been driving for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and it senses that your face is sagging or looking down, and it's coming. It's coming as these cars become not vehicles, but they become computers with wheels, and it's coming.
Well, nothing annoys the hell out of me like trying to wait for my truck to boot up. Now, my battery, I got a 2019, went bad last year. They're good for 3 years now. 3 years.
Yeah.
There's so many computers running in them but yeah, if I'm talking on the phone, it feels like forever. It's a good 10-second gap where it's trying to grab the phone. Or if my truck's running at a gas station and I'm talking on the phone, walk up to the truck, all of a sudden I'm talking to nobody and they're screaming inside the cab and nobody's there. But funny story I was telling Dougie before the show is we've got a good friend of ours. He's Indonesian, does very well for himself. He has a $150,000 Mercedes he's driving. He says my truck is racist, or my car's racist. I said, why is that, Ricky? He goes, it keeps asking me, are you tired? Pull over. Are you tired? He goes, I'm not tired. I'm Asian.
It has a camera that looks at your face the whole time, and it thinks that he's going to sleep.
So yeah, he pulls up to wherever we were at. Just, my car's racist. Just slams the door. I'm like, Ricky, it's a $150,000 Mercedes. I don't think they care what race buys it as long as they have the $150,000.
Yeah, the only color they're seeing there is green.
And look, $150,000 when he bought that car seemed like a lot. Now it gets you a base model Ford. It used to get you a house.
I am looking at buying a new truck next month for tax purposes. And you say buying a house, the base models are getting very near to the price of my first house.
Well, our friend Buzz had his truck stolen at the airport. So he bought it before inflation got crazy and had it stolen after. He's like, it went up $30,000 in price, and then the insurance or the interest tripled. He goes, I can't afford to buy the same truck I had, even with the insurance payment.
That's right. But how many of us got into wrecks over COVID when all the cars were going through? Oh, I did, and I made money. I mean, somebody else hit me, and they paid me to take my truck. I mean, they paid me more than what I had paid for it 4 years earlier.
Well, to get back on the kill switch, the Massey Amendment failed thanks to 19 Republican dissenters.
Who?
They're listed on there. It was not Margie, but Debbie Dingell of not Debbie Dooley, Debbie Dingell of Michigan. She inherited that seat from her father.
Yep.
A Dingell has been in that seat since my wife was a kid in Michigan, and Dingell was her congressman. That's how long a Dingell has been in that seat. And she's up there almost crying about the poor people that are getting killed in DUI crashes. Like, none of that has stopped.
I would think that somebody who is a rep from Michigan, of all places, would be a little friendlier to the automotive industry than that. Because they don't want to do this. Well,
they probably charge more for it.
Yeah, they're going to charge more for it, but this just invites that much more regulation.
And then there's a secondary market going to be to delete those things. Once you get out of warranty, delete it. Because look, what if you had to swerve to miss a dog in the road, and then you pull over to make a phone call, like, oh, this guy's driving erratically, shut your car down. Say, hey, boss, I can't come to work. Why? The car thinks I'm drunk. Are you? I don't think so.
Not yet.
I mean, I've been drinking since this morning, but oh, good God.
Bad idea.
Everything government touches just turns to crap. So the thread have been pulled to end civil asset forfeiture. So we have a case in Indiana where our boy got pulled over with, I don't know, a pocket full of weed or something, and a couple $1,000s on it.
I think I had like $4,500 in the car or something.
Yeah, something minimal. And I think the amount of marijuana was consistent with personal consumption. So they take it. Why you take $3,000-$4,000, I don't know. So they take it. And it is now gone to the Indiana Supreme Court that says he must get his day in court in front of a jury. And the state must make its case of why this money belongs to them.
And this is great. And I love the jury part of it, because now you're going to have your peers, other people who otherwise would have not even paid attention to this stuff, find out that even they can be driving down the road with $4,500 in their car and get it taken for essentially no reason at all.
Well, and you're in the gun business. And when you deal with machine guns and ammo, all that's done in cash.
Always.
It's you don't run a credit card for a machine gun. You just don't. That's just not the way it's done.
No, most people aren't going to buy a credit card or a machine gun with a credit card. These guys have money. These are investments, and they're either going to write a check or hand you cash.
Yeah, what's an average machine gun? It's between 20 and 60, 70, 80,000?
Yeah, for a transferable collectible machine gun made before 1986, yeah, I would say you start at about $20,000.
And that's for a piece of crap.
Yeah, that's for like a really an open bolt basic
low end.
You talk about some of these other ones that that are really collector's items. It's not unusual for them to hit 100,000 or more.
Yeah, 1920s Tommy gun.
Yeah, they sell for about $50,000 right now. Yeah,
they're fun to shoot, but they're slow.
Yeah, all of it's fun to shoot, but at the end of the day, they're so impractical and expensive to keep running. But
but they're investments. But again, you travel with a good from time to time.
Yeah.
So do I, because when I do large commercial jobs, we scrap that out.
Sure.
And we get scrap doesn't pay you in check; they pay you in cash.
It's like an ATM. Yes.
Yeah. So and when I talk about scrap on a commercial job, I'm talking tens of thousands of dollars a day coming out of it.
And to be clear, this guy had weed in the car, and that's what they use as the excuse to take $4,500. But if you've got $10,000 or more on you in cash, it can be taken for no reason at all other than you had $10,000 or more on you. And the only way you're getting it back is to prove that it was yours to start with. So unless you got a receipt from the ATM where you took it out of there, you're done. They can keep the money.
Yeah, I once flew out of South Florida with a gun and $12,000 in cash, and this was from a commercial job. We were scrapping out a grocery store, so it was legitimate. But and the pistol had been my grandfather's, and my uncle gave it to me. But yes, I went through the West Palm Airport with $12,000 in my pocket, I think $12,000 in my brother's pocket, and a Dan Wilson 45, very nice Point Man Major.
Ed Wilson.
Yep. Point Man Major. Beautiful pistol. But yeah, so I'm standing there, and a bunch of New Yorkers behind me yelling because I'm in the special check-in lane. What makes him so special? And I finally turned around. I have a gun. The gate agent just busted out laughing just to shut the New Yorkers up. Sorry, New Yorkers. But anyway, and look, when I travel with cash, it's legitimate. If I fly to Vegas, I don't use a marker. I'll fly out there with several $1,000s in my pocket. But I know we have people at the Hartsfield Airport that are looking for cash, particularly Atlanta to LAX.
No, it's become an industry within law enforcement.
Absolutely.
To look for the cash.
Absolutely. Speaking of cash, let's get into the prostitute corner. So first we have a high-end brothel ring busted by the feds. When I say high-end, Cambridge, Fairfax, which is right outside of D.C., we're talking about very high-end. Now, some of the prices I saw listed don't seem all that high-end to me. I mean, look, they're talking about like $600 an hour. I'm like, you've never been married. Because trust me, it costs way more than $600 an hour.
Well, so just like the Epstein case, we're going to see the client list, right?
Exactly. It's going to be right behind the Epstein release. We're not going to find out who the Johns are. We're not going to find out who the hookers are. We found out who allegedly the pimps are: Han Lee, James Lee, and Jimmy Young Lee. I assume they're Han 41, James 68, Jimmy Young 30, so I assume the theory of relativity applies here. What got him was it's interstate prostitution ring, multiple brothels, Cambridge, Watertown, Massachusetts, as well as Fairfax and Tysons, Virginia, just outside of D.C.
And as I looked at some of the price lists on here, because I saw the price list in the story, they had girlfriend experience, and they also had a bareback experience. So if you're wanting to be safe, this probably wasn't your prostitution ring.
Yeah. Now, first of all, if you see that she offers that, even if you are going to use protection, wouldn't you just assume go somewhere else that says no services without protection?
Yeah, but it's, you could have had 120 minutes for $840. See,
that doesn't seem that expensive to me.
No, you've been married.
Exactly. I mean, yeah.
If they say that prostitution's illegal, they're lying.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I've been married for 27 years, and I can promise you, every time has been very expensive.
Well, I mean, look, the $840 is nothing to me. I mean, it's the other half of everything I own.
Hey, Dave, this is probably a good time for your...
Yeah, coming up. Yeah, my disclosure.
Your disclosure.
But no, I mean, but here's the thing: it's what it sounds like. These girls were not completely on their own. So this sounds a lot like an immigration scam.
Yeah, they have arrested. I think 3 people, all with the same last name of Lee. Han Lee, who's 41, James Lee, who is 68, and I'm going to completely screw this one up. But
were you not here while I was reading that?
No, I didn't. You actually said their names.
Yes.
Huh? Okay.
I brought a bottle of Blanton's with me to bribe Doug to do the show.
And I couldn't just sit here and look at the horsey. I had to open it up. All right, so he read it. But yeah, so I mean, it does certainly seem like it was a human trafficking ring, and if that's the case, again, this is the world's oldest profession, but if it's by force, that's not.
Right. Any labor by force is wrong. Sexual labor by force is particularly heinous.
Agreed.
Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. This is a good time to remind you these are our opinions and not those of anyone not on the show or any respective company for which we may work, own, or otherwise associate ourselves with on a regular or irregular basis. Also, you can find other episodes and relevant stories over at thegeorgiavirtue.com. All right, so this includes Ken. Ken is not on the show. These don't go throwing bombs at Ken for what Dougie and I say here. All right, so we have the UFC fighter that's stepping aside and stepping out of her trunks.
This is nuts, man. She said she made more in 24 hours on OnlyFans than she made her entire career in the UFC.
Well, me too. Actually, I've made just as much on OnlyFans as I have in UFC.
0.
Exactly. Now she's a good-looking girl. And I guess she figured out, stop getting punched in the face if you're a pretty girl.
Yeah, the OnlyFans thing, I do think that it's, I don't blame people for doing it. I mean, the money that people will pay for the dumbest stuff. My wife's got a coworker who, Asian lady, and she's a nurse, but she decided to start selling socks. People are paying for her dirty socks. And some people will call and request that she wears them another day before they send them to her. Or she sends them to them. Socks.
Dude, my brother knew a guy back in the 80s who made a killing. Remember the magazines you used to pick up at the Gentleman's Club?
I don't.
So anyway.
And that's what I'm sticking to.
So anyway, in the back, there used to be ads. And this is back in the 80s. He sold scented panties. So what he would do is he'd go to a Kmart, because it was way before Walmart, which was really around, and buy them by the bulk load and buy cheap perfume and spray them and charge some exorbitant rate for 1982, whatever it was, like $10 a pair, and stick them in an envelope and mail them off. And the dude had like 3 people working for him doing nothing but spraying store-bought women's underwear. And men are just, women don't buy, like women could love Channing Tatum. They're like, they don't want his sweaty socks.
No.
I mean,
men are simple creatures, man. I don't know why women have such a hard time figuring that out. You know, it's women require roses and wine and a nice dinner. Men require that you show up naked and bring alcohol.
Yeah, well, I did half that.
You brought alcohol.
Yeah,
Thank
naked
God.
Comes later.
I'm leaving.
After that dinner, you're going to buy me.
Yeah, that's not happening either.
But no, it's interesting that, like, she started off doing PG, but graduated to what she said is X-rated stuff. So what she discovered is no one's going to pay to see you in a bikini. Everybody has seen you in what is essentially a sports bra and spandex your entire career. No one's going to pay you to put on a bikini.
You know, the story even touched on all these teachers that are getting fired for having OnlyFans accounts. And I'd be clear, OnlyFans, you want to see what's going on in an account, you have to pay and have a membership and everything else. So it's not like people who are finding this are stumbling onto it. They're looking for it. And they're paying to look for it.
Well, there's something else that goes with that. You can stumble across it. And I'll tell you how. As you're scrolling through Facebook or any of the other Meta things or X or whatever, and you see those videos people do.
Yes.
And I've got one that's mandatory fun time. Guy's hilarious. He's a green to gold officer. He was enlisted NCO, but he does funny videos that are Army based. So that's where I found him. But you see this girl, and you see this girl like in underwear lip syncing some stupid song I've never heard before, and you click on the profile, that it has a link to their OnlyFans. So they're using Facebook videos and TikTok videos as advertisement. So if you're scrolling through and like, hey, that looks like Mrs. Jones, then click on it, like, sure is. Me and Mrs. Jones got a thing going on, you know.
Only if you pay her $10 a month, though.
Yeah, but if you know she has, okay, you're in high school, and you just found out that your hot English teacher. And I say that because I had a hot English teacher that married a friend of mine like 3 days after graduation. So you get a hot English teacher, and then you see that she's lip syncing to something, and you click on the profile, and it says, OnlyFans. You click on that. You're telling me that high school junior can't scrape up $9.95 to see what the hell's going on, especially once he gets all his friends over, like
to pitch in $1 each.
Yeah. Like, oh, exclusive content's gonna be another $50, whatever it is. You guys got $10 each? Well, hell yeah, I do. The problem is boys and men can't be cool. We find this out with the hot teacher who's sleeping with a high school senior. Just be cool, man. Just shut your mouth. You don't need to go and tell everyone.
But yet he does.
Or leave chat open when mom finds it. His mom's just so appalled that an adult at 22 would want to have sex with an 18-year-old. Like, no, like adults at like 45 want to have sex with 18-year-olds too. I mean, so we got the next OnlyFans follow-up. So we have the candidate that was hoeing for office.
I saw these videos, Dave.
I don't know if you sent it. You sent me.
I think I did.
You probably sent me the link to it. Yeah.
This would make Larry Flint blush. These were pretty graphic.
Yeah. It's still amateur. But it's not so much that the I don't know what's the opposite of voyeurism, that you like to be watched. I don't know what the name of that kink is, but people, there's a kink that people like being watched. You know, they like doing stuff out and
well, she succeeded.
Well, she did. But what really screwed her, so to speak, one is she was begging for money, like telling her husband, "Wait, don't do that yet, until we get enough coins in, or whatever it is." But what really screwed her on this, she did all this, and you know what? It's within the confines of their marriage. That's what makes them happy. God bless them. Don't care. Good for you, dude. I mean, whatever. She looks very good for 40. Whatever. The fact is, she went out and played victim and said it was a sex crime to expose what she was selling for $10.
Not gonna fly.
You know, Pam Anderson tried that. We were violated. Well, you were, because I saw Tommy Lee. I mean, you were, but no, you took the video and then you shared it with somebody, and once you do that, it is out of your sphere. That's it. You know,
they tried to get the sites that were putting it up to take it down, but and they actually, I do think the site that they were on, they removed it, but by then it was in the archives and out, and she owned it. She never denied it, which she couldn't, but to try to pawn it off as, I'm a victim, that's it's not going to fly. And guess what? The voters didn't buy it either.
Look, had she stood up, and I'm not trying to give Democrats advice here, but had she stood up and said, damn right, that's us. That's me and my husband. We do this within the confines of our own marriage. We don't involve anybody else. It's something that we enjoyed filming ourselves and decided, hey, why not make a couple bucks? It's the American way. If she had said that, even conservatives would be like, well, I mean, it's within the confines of their marriage. I mean, it's up to them. I mean, had she framed it like that? But no, she wanted to go out and play victim and go crawl up on the cross and say they're persecuting me.
Well, now she's got plenty of time to do this because she's not going to be in office.
She's not going to be in office, but she is still a PA, right?
I don't know if that's the case or not.
I don't think she lost her certification. I mean, we're hurting for healthcare workers, so I mean, she could make the video on her break.
As a matter of fact, that doctor says that he has got a full schedule for the next 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, we're hurting so bad for medical professionals.
I got a rash. I need you to look at it.
Yeah, she's backed up.
Oh, man.
So, real quick, you are a gun guy. Pistol braces are back.
Yeah, I saw this was going to happen. It had to happen. I think for those who don't know, pistol braces were an invention in conjunction with Sig Sauer, the firearms manufacturer. The original intent was to take a pistol, mostly the AR pistols, AK pistols, and make it so that a disabled vet or somebody who had a partial missing limb or whatever could actually still shoot the handgun and stabilize the gun. And the ATF approved these. They sent out letters that said, yes, this is fine. You can make these. There's not an issue with it as long as you don't shoulder the thing to make it a rifle. Well, then eventually the ATF, even as they started being made by the millions, and people started putting them on their pistols to somewhat get around the short-barreled rifle laws that are stupid anyway. They even had said, as long as it's put together like it should be, as we've approved, you could even shoulder these things to stabilize the gun.
Well, and it has never been a rifle.
No, it's always been a pistol.
Now that's important for those who don't build ARs. When you buy the only serialized number on an AR-15 is the lower receiver.
Yes.
Not the mechanics in it, the piece of aluminum. That's it. That's the lower. That's the gun. So as long as that serial number has never been associated with a rifle, it can be a pistol.
Correct.
Sorry, Doug. You tend to with gun stuff, especially guys who are in the industry, tend to talking in like cliff notes, like
yes.
flying past stuff, like assuming that people know.
So, regardless, the ATF has made this okay to do. Many companies just start making these. All the gun manufacturers start selling them already on the guns, all because the ATF said this is perfectly fine to do. Then one day, the ATF decides they're bad, and you can no longer do it legally. And so what millions of people had bought legally all of a sudden made them a felon if they didn't take it off, throw it away, or register their firearm as a short-barreled rifle. And this is a problem. It basically led millions of gun owners to be criminals overnight through no doing of their own.
Well, and the thing is, the original, this goes back to the be cool thing. This goes back to be cool. We all knew that they were stocks.
Yes.
We all knew this. We all, especially the blade brace. The thing is adjustable. It has no arm strap. It's a stock. But we all knew it. But damn Kyle has to get out there on YouTube and go, hey man, this is supposed to be a brace, but look this, you can pull it right up to your shoulder. It's an SBR. You ain't got to pay the $200 tax stamp. Shut up.
Even some manufacturers, firearms manufacturers, in their advertisements showed people shouldering a pistol brace.
But it's
still does not change the fact that the ATF says this is legal, which they're not allowed to really do anyhow is make these laws. And that's what this whole stay has meant, is that they went way beyond what they're allowed to do. They're trying to legislate when they're not.
Well, with the letters they gave, it's not they say it's legal or not legal, is we do not view this as making it a short barrel rifle. Now I have an SBR. It's registered. It's a 300 blackout. It's threaded for my registered 30 caliber can. So I never got into the pistol brace thing. If I want an SBR, I just paid the $200 and waited for it. I'm more upset about the slide fire. How does this not slide into the slide fire argument where letters were issued, companies were founded. Slide Fire was founded with hundreds of employees with the express purpose of making this singular product.
But just like the pistol brace, the slide fire has quietly become legal again.
Quietly.
Yes, because why? Same deal. The courts decided that the ATF had overstepped their bounds.
Not just that, is the same thing that you see with a slide fire, you can accomplish with a belt loop.
Correct.
Well, skinny people can. I can't reach around both sides of my gut, as anybody can see from the pictures that we took the other day at Jessica's house.
Well, I think the judge was correct on this.
I think the judge was absolutely correct on this. Look, it's just like, let's go back to the Roe v. Wade thing. The judge is not making them legal. He's saying if you want to make them illegal, you have to go through legislation, not through the executive branch. And I think we're starting to see these judges start to reel in the executive branch. And it needs to be, because it's not just between you and me, it's ATF, because we're gun guys. But I'm also involved with EPA with what I do for a living. And
Yep.
EPA just comes out on a whim and says, hey, guess what? The SEER rating has changed. It's going from SEER to SEER 2, and we're going to upgrade it. So any homeowner that needs to change their HVAC system now has to spend 20% more. And that's not really their option.
Well, I think this is going to come around to with the Supreme Court here soon in the Chevron hearing. When will that be? Have they given an indication when I
have no idea.
Issue their judgment on that? But I think when that EPA case comes back from the Supreme Court on the Chevron doctrine, I think it's going to directly affect the ATF and other alphabet agencies that have overstepped their bounds.
Well, it goes back to Congress, who should never given these alphabet agencies the authority. But Congress is so dysfunctional that they'd rather pass a law once and go, okay, here's an agency, you handle it so we don't have to do anything. Because there's nothing a congressperson hates more than going on the friggin' record. All right, you kind of came up with a mule this week as we're running long.
I did. The mule of the week for me has been the mule of the decade for me is Hillary Clinton.
2 decades, 3 decades,
Yeah.
3 decades.
Oh my God. When is this woman just going to go away? Hillary was being interviewed and she was warning about the dangers of a second Trump presidency. And she said she thinks it would be the end of the country as we know it. And she doesn't say that lightly. She was on The View, so we should probably take that into consideration too. She was amongst friends.
Nothing is light on The View. They had to reinforce the stage.
But she said that, and I'll just quote her, and you could see it in countries where, well, Hitler was duly elected, right?
Well, in fact, he was not.
No, but why let facts get in the way of a good episode of The View? And so all of a sudden, somebody with those tendencies, those dictatorial, authoritative tendencies would be like, okay, we're going to shut this down. We're going to throw these people in jail. And they didn't usually telegraph that. She is saying that Trump intends, and he is saying it, and we should take him at his word, that he's going to throw people in jail who disagree with him, shut down legitimate press outlets, and do what he can do to literally undermine the rule of law and our country's values and end democracy as we know it. So, look, anytime somebody pulls out the Trump card and then throws it in with the Hitler card, I step back and say, you're being disingenuous. 2, you're not really paying attention to what you're saying.
Godwin's law.
Have at it.
The longer an argument goes online, it is exponentially more likely that Hitler will be brought up.
That's right.
I've got a friend who he's now a defense attorney, super good guy. I know him from the Outdoors Trader, but he got a ban. He happens to be Jewish. He got a ban because he was joking and said somebody was literally worse than Hitler, and he was joking, and he got himself a 30-day ban for it. And he's like, "I'm Jewish." I was making a joke.
Again, don't let the facts get in the way.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is a guy who's not a defense attorney. All right. Do you have any closing thoughts for us? Oh, I do want to thank Matt Mason from Matt Mason Farm Bureau.
Farmers Insurance.
Farmers
now
Insurance.
He's going to come in here and stab you.
Good. I'm sorry. We actually do stuff with Farm Bureau, not insurance. We do first responders stuff, Farm Bureau. But yeah, Farmers Insurance. Matt's a really good guy. He let us use his office here. That you get a little bit of echo, but actually got Doug and me to sit across from each other and actually have a conversation instead of doing it on the phone, which we only live 2 minutes apart, which is kind of silly to do. Plus, he keeps checking his watch because he's got a hot date tonight.
Nah, I'm checking my watch because I want to see if I've bored these people for more than 60 minutes.
Oh yeah, we're over.
Yeah, so, I want to thank Ken for not coming to work today and giving me a chance to finally get on your podcast. And thank you for the opportunity to say, hey, if you were even the slightest bit entertained by when I tried to be foul. To stop by my podcast if you get a chance and take a listen.
Whiskey After Work.
Yes, Whiskey After Work, and it's a whiskey, liquor, and business podcast, and a little more loose than let me tell you why you're wrong. But
wow, yeah, it is somewhat looser. But you do a pretty good job of what Jessica used to call landing the plane.
Yes.
Like we were getting off. Your partner and I were getting off. Melissa and I were getting off on a tangent, and you're finally like, and I'm just offending her left and right. Right, like I'm like she's a little feminist, and I'm offending her left and right. And you're like, so Dave, tell me about your charity work with Shepherd's Rest.
I always end with the good, right? I always end with what you do in the community and what charities that you put together. And after just offending this poor woman for an hour, then she found out that you were a huge advocate of Shepherd's Rest, and it's
a board member,
that does everything you can to help battered women and women who are disadvantaged by the idiots that they've ran into.
It was like just jaw hitting.
She couldn't believe what was coming out of my mouth.
This fat redneck who's been saying the most outlandish stuff for an hour. It actually does good work. I just want to say goodbye and good luck to Ron Washington and Eric Young Sr.
I hate to see him go, but I'm happy for him.
I'm happy for him. The defense is going to suffer. Look, here's a quick anecdote about Ron Washington. He was standing around. I say standing around. He'd just gotten done warming guys up, and a bat boy he was on the road. Bat boy from the other team comes over and says, "Mr. Washington, could you show me some of those drills that you go through with the pros?" Because I'm an infielder for my high school. Blah blah blah. And Wash goes, "You got your glove?" "Yes sir." He goes, "Go get it." And then spent 30 minutes with this kid, this teenager.
Yeah, he brought some of the players in to work with him.
Yeah,
too. It was awesome.
And just worked with this kid. And look, being a bat boy's got to be an amazing experience as it is, just to interact with these guys. But then to have a pro like Ron Washington, who short list best defensive, especially infield defensive coach ever in baseball, and to have him spending his personal time that he could be back in the dugout getting a Gatorade and getting ready for all that stuff, to sit there and work with this kid. He's just one of the good guys in baseball, and we're definitely going to miss him.
Yeah, and the Angels are lucky to have him. He's awesome.
Yeah, EY Senior also.
Yep. Going to miss him, but I wish them both the best of luck until the playoffs.
I don't think it's be an issue. Yeah, at least he didn't go to Houston, right?
Playoffs.
or hell, Milwaukee was looking for a manager also.
Yeah.
That would have been bad having the National League that close. That'd have been rough. So, big thank you to Doug Shaw for stepping in. Big thank you to Matt Mason and his agency for housing us. I'm Dave Roberts. We'll talk to you next week.
Catch me howling at the moon.